Welcome back to the Big Leagues podcast. David and Isaac here. We got UFC 302 this weekend. I wouldn't say it's the greatest card of all time, but definitely some good fights. We'll definitely be watching it. We got Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirer in the main event. That's a great fight. And then we got Strickland versus Paulo Costa in the co-main event. Another great fight. But just quickly before we get to that, there's two fights that we wanted to touch on. Number 7 ranked heavyweight Jailton Almeida versus number 13 ranked heavyweight Alex Romanov. I'm a big fan of Jailton Almeida's game. He's a bit of a smaller heavyweight, but he's just so speedy on those takedowns. He gets right to his takedown right away, and once he grabs a hold of you, it's usually not great. So he was on a 15-fight win streak up until UFC 299. Went in there against Curtis Blades, savvy veteran. Curtis Blades had a great game plan executed, and he just won on the night of the fight. He just executed to perfection. Almeida shot in for a takedown. He trapped his head and got the finish, exposed that deficiency on film. So credit to Curtis Blades, I guess, but I just think, I think if you run that fight 100 times, I think Almeida wins more than he loses. And I got him winning this fight. I don't really want to particularly say whether it's going to be KO, submission, or decision. Almeida, his jiu-jitsu is his main strength, but Romanov's got really good jiu-jitsu too. He's got nine wins by submission, 0 losses. So could maybe see a knockout. The grappling could nullify, and Almeida could get that takedown and get some ground and pound. But I would just rock with Jailton Almeida money line on this one. What would you think about that?
I agree. I think Almeida, in the first round against Curtis Blades at 299, I think he looked really good. Just kind of, like you said, Blades just caught him with and finished him in the second round. And Blades is getting the title shot against Aspinall for the interim. So really, if Almeida would have won that fight, we could be seeing him fighting in Manchester instead of Blades. So I'm going to take Almeida here. I think he's going to have a big time striking advantage against Romanov. One thing that I think could potentially concern Almeida is if he, tries to shoot for a lot of takedowns again. Romanov is really good at submission. So if he keeps shooting for takedowns, he could get caught in something, get submitted. Yeah. So I'd probably if I had to give a pick either by KO or by decision for Almeida, I think would probably be a good bet.
Yeah, I agree with that. Another decent fight that we wanted to break down here. Kevin Holland, bit of a tough name, but Michael Oleksiuk, I think it is. Both guys pretty good strikers. I think this would primarily be a striking match. Kevin Holland, he can sometimes be a willing grappler, so maybe he looks to see if he can find a grappling advantage, but I think primarily striking if I had to guess. What stands out right away to me is just that 7-inch reach advantage for Holland. I think that's going to be really tough for Michael to overcome, and I think Kevin Holland is savvy veteran. He's going to know how to use that to his advantage and kind of keep him at bay, and I could see Kevin Holland by knockout or decision. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think kind of in Holland's last fight against MVP, kind of unfortunate. I think MVP just got a really tough style to fight. I don't know, he's never fought anything like that. Potentially he didn't look the best because of that, but I think he's going to come out, look to respond because, Kevin Holland's getting up there. So yeah. I think he knows that, he doesn't have much time probably left. I think he's 35?
He's 31 actually.
Oh, 31 still.
Yeah. He's just 31. He's not super old, but he has a lot of miles.
Yeah, he's got a lot of wear and tear on that body. But I think the reach advantage is going to be tough to overcome, and Kevin Holland has power too. So, I think Holland by KO probably because, I'm not going to go for the last name pronunciation, but we'll say Michael. Michael is primarily a striker too, so I think they're going to look to just stand and bang, and I think Holland is going to use the reach advantage, use his jab, and then look to hit it with a big shot. So I'm going to agree with you and take Holland here.
Yeah. Moving on to the co-main event. This is a fight I'm pretty excited for. Maybe even fight I'm most excited for. We got Strickland versus Paulo Costa. We all kind of know Strickland coming off that title win against Adesanya, and then lost his defense against Duplessis. We all kind of know his style. You know, he spars 24/7. He kind of uses his boxing technicalities and hits, kind of keeps you at perfect range all the time, popping you with the jab, applying pressure. Got that great gas tank. Another thing too that I think definitely favors Strickland here is that this is a 5-round fight actually, which a lot of people may not know, but yeah, this is a 5-round fight. I think that's a big advantage for Strickland. You think, you know, he's only fought for the title twice, so he probably maybe doesn't have as much experience in 5-round fights, but his last 8 fights, actually, 6 5-round fights. He beat Uriah Hall by decision and Jack Hermanson by decision in 5-round main events. That's when then he loses to Poirer, and then he loses a razor-thin decision to Jared Cannonier in a 5-round main event. Beats Nasruddin Imavov by decision. And then he goes in against Abus Magomedov in a 5-round main event. He actually gets the KO in that one, but Magomedov really proved that he didn't belong in that spot. I mean, gassed out right away. Strickland just put heavy volume and pressure on him and finished him pretty quickly. So I don't really see that being a potential outcome in this fight. I mean, Paulo Costa, he's fought for a title. I mean, he's definitely on a way higher level than Magomedov.
He's been there before.
That guy just did not belong on that stage. So, and then that's where Strickland's kind of took his career to the next level. Beats Adesanya by decision, and then after that, loses Duplessis. Here we are against Costa. I was pretty surprised actually. Vegas favors there to be a knockout in this fight, or like a finish. Fight to go the distance plus 125. I think that's got a lot of value. I got Strickland by decision even plus 190. I mean, I think that's great value. They actually have by KO is plus 175. So I think decision is more likely in my opinion. I think that's a little imbalance in the odds. I also kind of like Strickland potentially by decision Costa, by decision at plus 750. I think that's good value. I definitely wouldn't count Costa out. You know, he just fought Robert Whittaker, and that was honestly some of the best I've ever seen him look. So don't want to count him out. I think I would slightly lean Strickland by decision, but could see it either way. That's a lot of stuff to throw at you, but what do you kind of take from that, and what's your thoughts on this fight?
I mean, you know, I agree with what you're saying. You know, Strickland's got the more experience in the 5 rounds, and I think, you know, it being 5 rounds is, you know, in Strickland's favor. And I think if it goes to the cards, it will be, I think, Strickland win, because, you know, he's just such a volume striker and kind of just so persistent. But I'm gonna take Costa here actually. For me, it's kind of, you know, it's not gonna be a wrestling match. I don't think either of them will shoot for a takedown probably, unless someone's kind of in big time danger. Yeah. And I think kind of in the Poirer fight too, I think Costa's got significantly more power than Strickland here. Strickland's the kind of guy, you know, he's going to piece you up, you know, hit you with a lot of volume, you know, maybe eventually stun you, drop you, and he can look for the finish. But I mean, Paulo Costa, I don't know how he didn't finish Whittaker with that kind of leg kick knee. That was gross, right on his nose, and Whittaker kind of just ate it. So, I mean, I think Costa's kind of getting a little underrated here. I think it's a close fight, but I think people have kind of been slandering him for, you know, he didn't fight for a while, and then he lost a close decision to Whittaker.
He's had he's pulled out of a lot of fights recently. I think that's why a lot of people have kind of turned on him.
Yeah,
and he's lost 3 out of 4, but when you kind of look at those fights and the caliber of guys he was facing, I mean, he was facing top guys. When you face top guys, you're going to lose some fights. But, so, I don't know. I think he definitely has a power advantage, so that could come into play for him as well. I could see that fight going either way. It's a pretty good one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I just think, you know, in the early rounds, they're just going to be sitting there standing and banging, and Costa's just going to have, you know, if he just swings for the fences, maybe he can catch him. But I mean, we haven't really seen Costa, you know, look great in the late round, championship round. So I think, you know, if Strickland takes him into deep water, it could be rough for him in the 4th and 5th if he kind of gasses out, you know, looking for a finish early.
I think kind of another reason why I'd tend to lean Strickland is just he's got that 4-inch reach advantage, and he knows exactly how to use it. He's got the better gas tank. So I think this fight goes the distance, and I think that Strickland is going to win at least 3 of those rounds. I could definitely see Costa having a moment, like maybe he rocks him or something, but at the end of the day, I see Strickland's 5-round experience and gas tank and just technical skills carrying him to 3 rounds.
Like, if I was going to bet Costa, I'd probably take either first, second, maybe third round KO. Like, that's kind of what I'd be looking at for. And then if I was going to take Strickland, I'd go decision. I think that's kind of where I'd be at in terms of the fight. Like, I think if it gets to the 4th, I think Strickland's going to win, to be honest.
What would you do if you're the UFC and Strickland wins this? What would you do with him next, do you think?
I feel like he's got to be on a short list for a title shot, for sure.
What about him and Whitaker? Winner gets it, or I guess Whitaker's got Chimaev. Yeah. What about him versus the loser of Whitaker Chimaev? I like that.
Yeah.
Winner gets and then the winner of that would maybe get the next title shot.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, because Usman still, like, he could still be a middleweight.
I was just gonna bring that name up. It depends where he is. I've had kind of mixed thoughts about whether he was going back to 170, staying at 185. I think 185. I kind of like to see him up there, to be honest. I mean, on short notice, looked good against Hamzat, so give him a full camp at 185. Could be his division, so I don't know. I'd like to see him in the mix too there with some of those guys as well.
I mean, I think if Usman's gonna stay 185, I think you got to either give him at least, like, let's say Costa loses, you got to at least give him Costa, Strickland, or Whitaker. I think you got to give him kind of a, because Usman's reputation, I think, has at least earned him kind of a top 5 guy. And he looked good against Chimaev, even though kind of first round, it was just he was on the ground the whole round. But like the second and third round, he kind of bounced back. He looked good, and he took it on 10 days notice for when Costa actually pulled out. So
I think at 185, I think he's 2 wins away from a title shot.
Yeah, I could even, like, depending on who they face him against. Like, let's say, I mean, I think if Chimaev wins, he's probably getting the title shot, I'd imagine. But
do you think they're gonna do Adesanya Duplessis first though? Like, is that the next one?
I think. I mean,
I've seen that Adesanya for the Australia card.
Yeah, like if Adesanya comes back, I think so. I think that's what's gonna be the fight. But yeah.
In the main event, we got Islam Makhachev versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Islam pretty heavy favorite at -650. I mean,
whoa.
I feel like
that's a little disrespectful.
Like, Islam is that guy. I think he warrants a -650 favorite, to be honest. If someone's a Dustin Poirier guy and they want to pick an underdog, I mean, power to you, but it won't be me, I'll tell you that. One thing I do got to say about Dustin Poirier, I mean, not necessarily my favorite fighter of all time, but man, I can't help but respect him for the fights he's put on for me. I mean, every single fight is just exciting no matter what, and he's put his body on the line so many times for my entertainment. So gotta respect him as a warrior. Makhachev, I just think he's insane. I'm gonna go on kind of a hot take here. I honestly think Islam could be better than Khabib. I mean, I think he's got better striking. I think his jiu-jitsu might even be better. I think Khabib definitely has some attributes, kind of maybe necessarily like wrestling and aggressiveness and stuff, but I honestly think Islam's a more well-rounded fighter. I don't see him losing this belt anytime soon. I think he probably gets a submission, to be honest. I mean, we've seen Dustin get submitted twice already for the title, so against a guy like Islam, I think that's a pretty likely scenario. Islam by submission -105. That's a play I like. Judging by your reaction, I mean, maybe you're on the Poirier bandwagon here. What are you thinking?
I'm a big Dustin fan, and I'm not a fan of Islam. I mean, I just kind of, coming into when I started kind of watching the UFC, I was a massive Conor guy. That's who's he kind of got me into it. So I didn't like Khabib. And then I also didn't like Dustin, but kind of you said, just watching his fights over the year, he turned me into one of his biggest fans, to be honest. Yeah. And everything on paper says Islam should win, but I'm just not gonna pick against Dustin. I mean, I picked Dustin against Benoit Saint Denis, where kind of everyone's like, all right, Dustin, you lose this, you might have to hang it up. I don't know. I think, because it's his last fight if he loses, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
He's kind of hinted that even if he wins, it could be his last. But
I think that's probably likely. I think it's his last no matter what.
yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, I was like, would any fights make sense if he won? The only fight and he actually came out and said like this fight wouldn't happen the other day, but I don't think he was accounting if he got the belt. Like if he got the belt, you already know what name I'm like. Give it to
Connor?
the notorious one for their fourth fight. My wife's your wife's in my DMs.
I mean, it would be a huge fight. I mean, you couldn't fault the UFC for doing it. It would do huge numbers. I think
Yeah.
especially like Poirier's took his star power to the next level, so I think it would wipe all the other
Yeah.
fights.
A lot of people be pissed though, like that.
Oh yeah.
Karachnik or Sarukian, who he's kind of promised a title shot, and Gaethje and Holloway are both kind of also due for some fights. But I mean, I think the only way Dustin gets it done, I mean, he'd have to just catch him.
That's what I think. I think if you want to bet Dustin Poirier in this fight, I think you got to go by KO. That's plus 750. I mean, I think that's your best value.
Yeah.
We know Poirier loves to go for those gis, but
those gis.
I don't think Islam Makhachev's too good of a grappler to get caught in one of those silly gis.
He had Khabib in a tight gi though. He had Khabib in a tight gi.
But I just don't think Islam's teams. I think they're going to be training that all the time. I think he's going to be ready for that. Like a guy that good, I just don't see you catching him with that when it's been advertised so much.
It's definitely a tough road for Dustin. Like he's gonna have to pull a rabbit out of the hat to get the job done. But
yeah,
I mean,
we've seen this fight. Like we watched him fight Khabib, and yeah, he had him in a close guillotine. But like, guess what? Probably not going to work against those guys. So I mean, Khabib was just a better fighter, and I think Islam's just a better fighter, and I think he gets the job done. But to be honest, I would definitely not be betting Islam at minus 600. If anything, minus 105 on the submission, but definitely not playing the money line on him. Like who knows? This sport, anyone could catch anyone on any night. So I don't want to rule out Poirier just kind of finding that chin. One thing too, actually, that I heard Volkanovski talking about this is that Poirier is a southpaw. So Volkanovski was saying that when he fought Islam would kind of duck his head to the side away from Volkanovski's power and then go for his takedowns. And he's saying that, maybe Poirier being a southpaw, kind of just a muscle memory by Islam, he ducks his head to the side and Poirier can time that and land like a knee or an uppercut or something and kind of catch him shooting in. It could be night-night. So, I think Volkanovski would look like a genius if that happened. Pretty technical detail, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. You think that has possibilities?
I think that's got merit. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that could be a way, Dustin potentially, if he shoots for it, maybe Dustin's, I'm assuming his team's watched some film and kind of potentially pick that up, and he'd be looking for it. But I think, I'm just gonna run a theory by you. Like, what if kind of in the Conor Khabib fight, it's kind of similar to what happened. So, Khabib came out, dominated first 2 rounds. Then the third round, he was swinging because Conor was so scared of the takedown, he started, kind of just like swinging freely. Like, what if Islam, picks up a few rounds, pretty easy, kind of just like ground pounds the shit of him, just wrestles him, and then he starts kind of just getting a little overconfident, just starts swinging. Like potentially Dustin catches him. I'm just trying to.
Hey, it's crazier things have happened. I mean, I definitely don't want to rule it out as a possibility. Poirier is just such a seasoned veteran, so experienced that, he could catch anyone. But I just think that, it's a possibility, but, there's no way I'd be picking against Islam here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna, it'd be a shame if Dustin never actually, held up a non-interim belt. It'd be a shame, because he's, I mean, he's such one of the, at least in kind of my era of UFC, he's one of the biggest names for sure. So it'd be a shame, but great career whether he loses this fight or not.
I mean, do you see anything out there for him if he loses? I mean, who knows? That Conor fight still is out there. It's still a possibility. I know he's talked about Nate Diaz, and he's also had a lot of back and forth with Colby Covington, which I think
Yeah.
those 3 of those fights would all be interesting for him. Like, I don't know if I want to see him try to climb that ladder again and fight more upcoming killers. I think like maybe just some legacy fights with some big names for some big paychecks, I think is what he should do.
I feel like kind of he's taken so much damage that he's just like, I don't think Nate Diaz would happen, to be honest. I mean,
No, I mean
like,
it's not
that
even
just
UFC, so
yeah,
unlikely.
and that just be like a kind of he just take more damage. Like they'd be just sitting and box, and I feel like Connor, potentially Colby, like, but he said the only time he's fighting Colby is in the street, so I don't know about that. But I think Connor would honestly be the only fight that could make sense. But I'm pretty sure, like, I saw a report like 3 or 4 days ago, he came out and he said it
Yeah,
won't happen. So
I've seen that.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
think
think if you, I
I
honestly
think it's
think
the
win or
last time
lose,
we
I think
see him,
he
no
hangs
matter
it up.
what. I
Yeah.
don't think any other fight really makes sense. Like, he's not gonna go and fight Sarukian.
No, no.
And like Gaethje 3, him against
That's a
Gaethje 3.
possibility, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to see that, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah,
I'll watch it. I'll be
yeah,
excited, but just for the
and like
sake of the two guys' health, I don't know if I want to see that.
yeah, and like he already fought Holloway. Like, kind of every fight just doesn't really make sense that for the
Yeah.
belt. So I don't know. Just probably his last fight, but I'm hoping he pulls something out, pull something crazy.
Yeah.
Great.
You never know. We got some decent fights here on Saturday. We'll definitely be watching. So like and subscribe, and we'll be back with some future UFC videos.